Okay, everybody. It's been a long 3 weeks since I was gone on vacation. I did have someone coming in and refilling my humidifiers, and also maybe a few little squirts of mist on my mounts. Actually, not all of my mounts, but some of my mounts. Um, Today is really the first day that I've had the chance to come out because I just got back last night. So I thought I'd put together this quick little video to show you what's been happening, and there has been a lot happening. Of course, I was worrying a little bit during my trip. Of course, being gone for 3 weeks, with the weather being so unstable, raining, and then actually it was very warm for a while. I did get the shade cloth up, so that protected it some, but as in the back of my mind, I knew that my plants would be better off with me being gone and not, taking so much high maintenance care that I generally do, being out here as often as I am. And I will point out some of the things that are new. Some things have been in bloom for a while. What I'm showing you right now is, actually, let me start out by saying, for about a month now, I've been using this to fertilize my plants, just this solely. I'm using it both soaking and foliar on my mounts. My plants have been responding very well to this. Some things that I haven't seen any growth in years. I'm not one of those growers who give up on a plant if they don't show any growth over a period of time. I just sort of let it be, and hopefully someday it'll come around. This has woken up a lot of those plants that I've had for, some of them, almost 6 or 7 years. So I would highly recommend this product. Not necessarily this brand. There are several kinds of kelp, but this is what I am using. I fill it, put it in the bucket, and then dip. Some of the plants I do every day. My mounts, I don't use the foliar with the kelp in it every day, but generally it's once a week. But anyway, I'll go back to this. I'm trying to keep this short because there is a lot going on, and excuse the terrible shape that my greenhouse is in. When you're gone for 3 weeks without sweeping up and cleaning up, things look a little bit ragged. Lots of stuff laying around. So please, you can tease me about it if you want. I won't take it personally, but I'm just letting you know you're going to see a lot of sweeping, a lot of foliage and leaves that are on the ground. And anyway, let me get back to this. This is Dendrobium anceps. Before I left, it was in bud. It had bloomed for me previously in the spring, but it only produced maybe 2 or 3 flower blooms, which I was very happy with. Now it is just covered, as you can see, with blooms. Wonderful. I heard that this is very fragrant. I haven't put my nose up there yet, and I won't. I'm just trying to make this video and keep it short. But this is just one side of the plant. There's buds all over. There's a bud up there. But very nice plant. For this, I gave it a winter rest. Watered it heavily when you start to see the new growth in the spring with the onset of the buds, and there they are. So dry winter, lots of light, lots of water in the spring and summer. Boom, there are the blooms. Let me see if I can get a close-up. Anyway, let me move on back this way. And like I said, I'm just coming out this morning, so hopefully I'll catch everything. This is my Sarcoglottis. I'm not sure which one it is. Actually, let me just pull the tag out. I think it's speciosum. Actually, it's not. It's, I'm not sure what that is. Apropodes. Aceptroids, I guess. Sarcoglottis. is in flower. It wasn't spiked before I left, but there's the flowers. Looks like there's some new growth happening here on this is my Roy Tokunaga. Finally, I repotted most of my Laturias in lava rock, and there's some new growths coming down right there at the bottom. Moving on down this way, over here in this Dendrobium corner, my prasimum has been in bloom for several months, still in bloom. Next to it, Frosty Dawn is still in bloom, and my big well, it's Hawaii Spectacular. Big Alex times Spectabile. This was in bud when I left, and it has opened up. Very nice. Again, you can see the Spectabile influence with the twisted petals. Also, Alexandrii has twisted petals as well, with the sort of the lip that has the pointed. I think they call this sort of a sword point. I've heard it used, but the color is just spectacular. I'm not sure what the other parent is, but it's got some Atroviolaceum, Alexandrii, and Spectabile. Up here, this is a plant that was in bud when I left, and it is still in bud. There's one right there, and there's another one that's growing up there. This is my Angraecum cross. This is cucullata times scottianum. Looking pretty good. I'm glad I'm going to be able to see these blooms. They did bloom for me last year, and I love the blooms. Are very long lasting, very fragrant at night. Over here, this is my well, used to be Encyclia. I think it's Euchile now. It's mariae. It's got a new growth coming on. There's a new root right there. This is a plant that typically is a cooler growing plant. I've wanted it for years. The flower is the lemon color with white, I believe, on the edge. Well, it did flower. Well, I bought it in flower. I have doubted that I would be able to maintain it because this is a hot house that I have. So we will see if I can keep it cool enough so that it will thrive and hopefully bloom again for me next spring. Down here, there's a new leaf coming out on this Aerangis, and there is my other Aerangis. No, actually, this is a Mystacidium. This is capense. This is in bud. This was in spike before I left, and now it is in bud. So I'm pretty excited about that it's waited on me to do its thing. Over here, I don't think there's much going on over here. My Angraecum didieri still has the inflorescence that are forming. It's very slow growing. Looks like the top leaf is not doing so well, but hopefully the plant will survive. Back here I've got a Dendrobium. This is a variety of, I believe it's a silver wing variety. Well, it's Shen, which is some silver wing is in there, times Johnsoniae. This is a recent repot, and it's got some new growths coming up. There's one, and there's one in the back there. Moving down, there's a big fat new bud. Well, not a bud, but a pseudobulb that's forming on my Laliacetlea Aussie Sunset that I purchased this spring. Flower was just spectacular. My Dendrobium gracilicaule that bloomed for me this spring, it's putting up some new growths. Very happy about that. My Blc BOuton D'Or, it's got new growth, new pseudobulb coming up there, and it's time for me to repot this. This is the time to repot when it's showing new growth. I don't see any roots, but definitely needs to be repotted. And I might just go ahead and repot this Dendrobium lingella. So the new growth is pushing up there. Over on this side, my Neofinetias, still no sign of spikes. Well, I haven't really looked that well, but the roots still look pretty good. despite not being watered in 3 weeks. My BC Hippodama has a new growth coming up, which is very new. I did not see, it was not doing anything before I left, and there is a new growth. What else? My Dendrobium Little Green Apples has a spike there, and there's another spike on the other side of the leaf here. This was in spike over the winter time, late winter into the spring, and I wasn't watering it that well, so the spike completely blasted. The buds did. This is my humongous Chysis Aurea. This is the new pseudobulb that is still yet to go into dormancy, but there is the new growth that's down here at the bottom. So we will see what happens with that. Typically it flowers from the new growth in the spring. I'm not holding my breath on that because I don't know what this plant is doing, whether or not it's actually been in dormancy or what. So I'll just have to wait and see. My Monn Millenium Magic, which was not doing anything, and actually I sort of had given up on this before I left because the spike that had been on it for literally 6 months just withered away and died. There's a new growth that has just started coming up since I was gone on vacation. Surprise, surprise. Just when you give up on a plant, it comes back for you. So again, neglecting your plants sometimes is the best thing for them. Two of my Cattleyas, I pointed these out in my last video. There's new growth coming on them, and it's lots of new roots, doing pretty good. Over here, this is my Collagenea cristata. It had pushed out some new growths on my last video. I'm still not really sure what it's going to be. I'm just going to say they're new growths. This one for sure over here looks like a new growth. These, I'm not sure. I mean, I suppose I'm not going to hope for flowers. If it does, great, but I'm happy with the new growths. Again, I gave it a winter dormancy and kept it in this highlight situation. I will probably move this under the shade cloth for the summer so it won't be so hot here, because this is basically full on sun. Down here I did have my Toshioki Pizzazz, which is one of my all-time favorite Cattleya crosses. Love it. It's like the flaming flower, I would describe it like that. Before I left, it was in bud. Well, it wasn't in bud. It was in sheath. And when I came out last night, even in the dark, I looked at this plant because I knew that it was in sheath when I left, and the buds were poking up through. I could see a humongous slug on it. I mean, it was bigger than the sheath. So I immediately took it outside and, flicked the slug off. But, I don't know if it flowered. I have no idea. All I know is I saw a slug munching away on it. So that's that. Hopefully it'll produce another pseudobulb and will do the same for me next year, or whenever it decides to. My Chysis back here, there's another, this is Chysis bractescens, I believe. That one down there looks like it's got some new growth on it. And this one right here has some new growth also, but these are babies. They need to be pretty big in order to bloom. My, this is my Mary Hood, I believe. If I can find the tag. This bloomed for me. This is the white bloom. This is a very old-fashioned flower. The Cattleya has been around for a while. This is a Hauserman's purchase that I've had for about 4 years, and it's bloomed reliably. Last year, it only produced, it produced 2 new pseudobulbs, but only one of them flowered. This year, I've got one down here, and there's another one back there. So it looks like it's coming back again. The other pseudobulb is right there. So I'm pretty happy about that. A very strong, reliable plant. My Wanea leopard, down there you can see there's a pseudobulb forming down there. Excited about that. And also this Cattleya, which is my Blc Dorothy Bartsch has a new pseudobulb coming out right there. What else? My Dendrobium Laudagessii is blooming, not as floriferous as it was last year, but I am still, nonetheless, I'm happy with it. Still a beautiful flower. And right above it, my Ardii that I've had for a long time. It's finally opened up its buds and stayed open while I was gone. Thank you very much. There's that. Moving right on along. Up here, my Barcaria is putting up some new growth, so I gotta really water that. Likes to be watered copiously in the spring, as do a lot of my, well, this is not a deciduous dendrobium, but they like to be watered in the same way. As soon as you see the new growth, or as soon as you start to see them bud, you should just water them like there's no tomorrow. I mean, when it's cooler, maybe you don't water them as much, but when it gets to be warm, I mean, sometimes they will appreciate 3 or 4 times a day. I think they like the water just flowing over their roots, keeping them cool. This is my Phalaenopsis cross that's always in spike, but the spikes are elongating and it's going to form some buds pretty soon. It's got a new leaf forming up there. This is a cross between Corningana and Gigantea. Pretty flower, very floriferous for me. What else can I show you? Let me see. Moving down this way. Over here. Let me turn this light off because it's kind of annoying when you're trying to film. This is my Ascocentrum, Johnsoniae. This was in bloom last video, and it's still in bloom. Lots of new growth happening. This is another one of my Dendrobium speciosum pedunculatum. This is just a baby. It's got some new growth right there. My big one that bloomed for me, that's down there on the ground, it hasn't even done much. This is my big one right here. This is the same variety as that small one. This is pedunculatum, I believe. Still not showing any new growth, so I'm just gonna let it go for a little bit longer. When I start to see something poking through, I'll water it. Moving back to where I was at, my Dendrobium Nestor, the new growth is still pushing out. My Spectabile Dendrobium that I repotted before I left, it's got one growth, there's another one, and then there's another one behind there. So it's doing pretty well. My very big Angraecum cross, this one is Memoria Mark Aldridge, which is Sesquipedale times longicaulicular. It's got new growth coming out there. I'm pretty happy with that. Over here, this is my Encyclia alata that was in short spike before I left, and now the spikes are all the way up there. All the way up there. So that's pretty exciting. I love alata. This is probably one of my favorite encyclias. The fragrance is spicy musk fragrance. I love that, and love the color, brown and sort of maroon. I love that. This is my Dendrobium Fredericksonianum. Before I left, I noticed that it had some nubbins coming up when I didn't really think that it was going to do much. The nubbins are still there. I'm not going to pull it down to see if there's any new growth. This is a recent repot. Actually, I can see some new growth coming up there as I look into it. I'm not going to look too hard to see if there's any more nubbins, but I will keep my fingers crossed and hopefully that will do something, because that's a yellow flower. Over here, this is, well, let me see if it's still in spike. Yeah, it is. This is my Chysis Bellinus, and there's a spike right there. This is one of the plants that I was talking about that I haven't done anything to it since I got it. It's still on the same mount that I got it at Hauserman's from. And this probably sat on this mount for 4 years. Did produce new growth, but as you can see, the latest growth, whatever you want to call that, it rotted out. Since I've been using that kelp, look at all the new roots that are coming out. And like I said, it threw a spike for me, which I am very, very excited about. I am so excited. So all you people out there who put time limits on your plants, and if they don't do anything within a certain time frame, you give up on them and give them away or sell them, you should have faith, because they'll eventually come around at some point, or they'll die, one or the other. This is the project plant for Orchaholics. It was a big disappointment when I got it. This is the growth that it had. The subsequent growth was not strong at all. Since I've been using the kelp, hopefully this newest growth will be stronger. This actually is this year's growth, and it's putting out another growth. So I thought that this was done for the year and that I was going to be waiting another year for it to do anything. So jealous by Mike Brodzik's. I mean, his is probably 4 times as big as this, and mine is still a little baby. So hopefully this kelp, fingers crossed, will push it over so that it will do something. What else? My Dendrobium Alexandrii that I love, putting out some new growths down there on the bottom, is loving that lava rock. This little Phalaenopsis no ID that I got at Trader Joe a little while ago, well, it's been months ago, putting out a new flush of flowers and buds back there. Surprise, surprise. My Angraecum subulatum is in bloom right now. Was not in bud, but there again, it could have been in bud, but they're so small you can't really see them. You really only know if this is blooming when it's in bloom. And I just noticed this morning, and there's more buds right there. There's a bloom, maybe a little bit faded, but I am very happy. I've had this for a year, a little over a year now. I got this last spring at the Missouri Botanical Gardens at their orchid show. A vendor there had cuttings of this. This was like $10, and it has been flowering off and on the entire time. Gotta love it. And I just recently repotted it, so I'm very happy with it. What else is there? My Phalaenopsis mariae, still pushing out the spike. Actually, it's got another spike coming up down there, and the buds are forming on the spike, on the inflorescence. My another one of my Angraecum leonis. I've had very bad luck with leonis over the years. This is one of the plants that I have. This, along with distichum or distichum, I have had difficulty growing. I've killed probably 30 of these plants over the years. This one I got it at Houseman. I actually just recently repotted it, and I repotted it on the same mount, and it's produced kiki, well, which is not a kiki anymore. It looks like another plant, and it's got roots forming. So I'm very hopeful, but I still think that it is owed to the fact that I am using this kelp, because it wasn't producing roots at this rate when I was just using MSU, which is what I was using previously. So I'm really thinking that this kelp is really doing awesome work. And as I scan down, all of my Angraecums that are right here are producing roots, and they generally have not produced roots like they are now. This one, which is this is a cross. This is George Kennedy. Has flowered for me. Well, it was in flower when I got it. Has got roots. It's never produced roots. These roots that you see that are down here were the roots that came with the plant. These are new roots. And same with this longicaucellar. Again, this is a baby. These will get really big as that one, which is superbum. And again, this has, well, it does have new roots, but the roots have buried themselves into the media. But all are doing well. I am so thrilled. This one, this is my Dendrobium farmeri. This was in just nubbins when I left. The nubbins looked like that. They were dried up. Came back, now they're flower buds. How awesome is that? Look, there's 3, right? There's 2. I was not expecting this at all. I had actually thought, well, okay, it did produce some new growth. Maybe the nubbins will stretch out for me next year. Look, it's gonna flower for me. I am so happy. This one over here, this is my, I don't know how to say it right. This is another Angraecum. This is one of the vining ones. So I treat it like a Vanda. It starts with a B, Biramense, I believe. The roots are just taking over. And I feed this foliar, and also I feed it through the media. And I spray the roots with it, with the kelp in water, just a drop of kelp. Doing very well. My Phalaenopsis gigantea is producing a new leaf at the top, and the only way I can water this is foliar. I cannot take this down. It is mounted. There's so many roots, I cannot take it down. So I only water the roots. And I also use the hose. Looks like there's a dead leaf back there, but okay, there's a new one coming up. And there's more flower buds coming on. How fabulous is that? I mean, I just can't say it enough. This is another one of my Angraecums. Actually, it's an Aerangis fastuosa. It's produced a new flower. And all these little seedlings, well, they're not seedlings. Well, this one is a seedling. This is a little Phalaenopsis mariae. I'm sorry. And it's producing some new roots. All my little seedlings that I got from Alan Black, who does the best Brassivola hybrids in the world, to me. They're producing new roots, so it's about time. These have been in this sphagnum probably since I got them, and I've had them probably a couple of years. So I'm gonna repot these up, but they're about due. I mean, they're producing new growths, and the roots look pretty well, but the sphagnum doesn't look so well, so it's about time. This Angraecum, which I got a year ago, is just killing it. It's got roots growing out all over the place. This is hybrid this is not a hybrid, this is a species, so I have no idea what it looks like. Humblati. I have no idea what it will look like, so it'll be a surprise. My Laturia crosses are still in bloom as they were during my last several videos. I have a Tolumnia over here that's still in bloom. Here's another spike. This is another one of the Hawaiian surprise or spectacular, whatever it is that I showed you down at the other end. This is the one that I had last year, and it's got a spike coming up on it, which is exciting. Again, this is a Suspiciudale, my Angraecum, which I bought it in bloom, never did anything, looks kind of ratty. Boom, I go on vacation, roots coming out, big fat roots. What else? My Blc cross that I got at Houseman's a couple years ago. This is Brian Wheeler, which has I can't think of who it is. I can't think of the cross. But anyway, it's still in bloom. It's been in bloom since it was in bloom maybe a week or two before I left, and it's still in bloom 3 weeks later. Flowers show no sign of fading. I don't know if there's any fragrance still. Yes, there is. Very, very faint cat litter fragrance. Gotta love that. My Phalaenopsis Hiniciana. Her mother is a Pathopedilum, I'm sorry. Hirsutissimum, still in bloom. Still looks pretty good. My Aerangis Elisei, pushing out some roots, new growth coming out. Pretty good. What else? This up here, this is my Eparmata stricta, Eparmata carpa D's, still in bloom. Little flowers, little white flowers. Pretty good. What else? Oh, up here, surprise, surprise, I got this about a year ago. Well, I got it during the wintertime. This is tampensis. Encyclia tampensis was not in any spike when I left. Now there's one right there, and there's another one over here. All this while I was gone, 3 weeks. And I know I checked to see if there was any spikes coming on, and there was none. I looked all inside of the emerging, the newest pseudobulb, and there they are. What else? This is Encyclia up here, which is an unknown Encyclia that I got at the member sale at the the Illinois Orchid Society. The spike is elongating. This was in spike before I left though, so this is going to be a surprise. I bought this for $15. It's a no ID Encyclia, so we will see. Let me see anything else. Looks like my Chysis back here that I've had for a while. Again, this is another one that produced a new growth for me. The new growths never went into dormancy. I did stop watering it, and it's producing new growths already. As I stated earlier, the flower spikes are supposed to come from the new growths. I'm not going to mess around with it too much. I'm just going to let it do what it's going to do. If it produces pseudobulbs, fine. It does look like the growths are very strong. And like, again, I think it's owed to that kelp solution. Moving on down here, everything looks pretty good. This is another Aerangis. This is a Certipodium, I believe. Cryptopodium. Got some new roots coming out right there. Yeah, Cryptodon. Looking pretty good. Right here, this is my Collagenea usitana that I got at Orchids Limited. Looking pretty good. New growths coming out. This is my corner where I have my new paths, my Angraecum. No, this is Johnsoniae. And back here, this is Philippines. And another Platyphilum. Looking pretty good. Can't complain about that. And up here, my Gongora. Well, it's Histrionica to me, but it's Powellii. That was in spike before I left. I figured that it would be done. Looks like the root, the tip of the spike or the inflorescence, looks like it's got some, I don't know, mold or something on it. But still in bud. You kind of see the striated color pattern coming out in the bud, if I can get it to focus. Should be red and white, fragrant flower. There we go. Yeah, you can see the red, actually red and yellow, I believe. Yeah, you can kind of see it on the bud. There we go. And actually, when I came out today, I noticed there's another spike coming out. So I don't know what to think. I don't know whether it's got to be that kelp solution. My plants have never looked this strong before. And again, down here, this is another Encyclia that was in spike. This is my Cordillera. This one was covered in ants before I left, and I was kind of worried that while I was gone, the ants were going to just continue to suck up all the happy sap and damage the buds. But being gone 3 weeks, and this was in bud when I left, and it has decided to wait on me to show its beauty and to let me smell the fragrance, because they are very fragrant, as all of you know. We all know Cordillera. I believe that's pretty much it. I do have a Collagenea up here, which is, let me see, I won't even try to pronounce it. It's a Roche. There it is. It's got new growth right there. This actually flowered for me last year. I don't think it's going to flower this year. That looks like a new growth. And again, this is a Schilleriana. No, this is Stuartiana. And it's got a new leaf coming up. The flower has finally withered away. But look at that fat root right there. It's time to repot that. I think I'm going to do that also this week. Some of my Cattleyas that are up here, really doing really well. These are the ones that I just pretty much dip right in the bucket, let them soak for 5 minutes. Make sure the media doesn't come out of the pot, as it tends to do when it's potted up in these mesh pots. But look at the roots. Very well. Nice. Still say it's got to be that kelp. Fat pseudobulb right there. And this one over here, which is a no ID that I got at the member sale in the Illinois Orchid Society. Got some new growth, and it's actually in a sheath. There's several sheaths on this plant that haven't pushed out yet. There's one up there in that corner up there. There's several more, but it's producing some new growth and tons of roots. Tons of roots. So once again, I've said it so many times already, these plants love to be neglected. Love it. So those of you who like to keep your hands on your plants and fumble around with them and check them every day, best thing for you to do is to give them some benign neglect. And here I'm just looking at this tampensis, and there's another spike. This all happened while I was gone, with no watering, no fertilizing, just left my humidifiers going. I did have somebody coming in to make sure that they were full, and they did it twice in 3 weeks. So I know that there were periods of time where they were not putting out any sort of moisture. But I cannot say it enough. They love to be neglected. So I think that's good enough of an update. Look, this is another Sarcoglottis fimbriata that I really should not be able to grow in my hothouse, because these love it to be more on the cooler side. But look at that. There's tons of new growth. Tons. So anyway, I will leave with that. This shot of this Paphiopedilum. And hopefully things are looking great in your greenhouse, in your grow space, whatever situation you have. And again, this is the beginning of May the 11th, and hopefully you all are enjoying your orchids as much as I am. Talk to you later.